So Jamie Morgan joins us here at the Login Lounge with Help Me Grow. Now, first of all, we've got to explain to everyone that's listening, it's not a gardening business, correct?
It's not a gardening business, no.
Right, okay. So what is your business?
I'm a small business coach, so I help small businesses deal with the kind of feast and famine that they suffer from through the year. So you'll find quite often that people get really, really busy and they stop marketing and they stop doing all the things that they're doing to get inquiries and bits going on in their business, and then it will all come to an end and they've got a bank full of money but no work. And then the opposite side of the year, they tend to have no work and a bank full of money. So we help them kind of cut down those cycles of feast and famine.
So it's kind of like about teaching them consistency.
Yep, consistency in your marketing, in your business processes, and most of all helping people grow consistently. One of the great ways that I kind of explain it to people is I get a balloon and I write all the different parts of the business on the outside of the balloon. So sales and marketing, operations, finance. And whenever you grow one part in particular, you push that balloon out of shape. And we know that the more we push a balloon, the quicker it pops. So we want to inflate that balloon gradually. And that's how I help people grow.
Oh, that's a really good analogy.
Yeah, that is, isn't it? I like that.
Yeah, so what would you say was the most important aspect of helping somebody grow a business?
First of all is clear vision. And it doesn't matter if you've been in business for 1 year, 10 years, 20 years. Our desires really, really change as we get older. So when I was 18 in business, it was fast cars, motorbikes, I had a boat, lots of silly things.
That's what you wanted. I'm going to work
they're
in
the things
business
I had.
because
Yep, no, that's the things that I did. I bought a house, got married. All of the kind of goals that we have when we're young are all about almost showmanship.
Look at me, I'm successful.
I'm successful. I'm good at what I do. And then when you get a little bit older, you have children come along. And your focus can change, in business, because you want to work less because you want to be around your children. But your focus can also need to change in the business because you want it to provide for your children in the future as well. So you might want to be paying for private tuition or music lessons, or the dance lessons after school and things like that become more important to do with your disposable money than, for example, chasing a bigger house or faster car, bits like that.
Okay.
So that goal
and
setting
then as
is
you
really
get older
important.
again, what do you find people want then?
You kind of get to the 40s and 50s and have plodded along, maybe in the same business for 20 years, and most businesses shut down at the end of their life. So the owner gets too tired, fed up. Lockdown's been a great example of it, where people have got their government grants or they've struggled and not got government grants, and they turn around and say, actually, do you know what, I've had enough of this. It's time to shut the door. And all of that hard work they put in over the years, all the struggle, comes to nothing. It just disappears. And I think it's really important for people that if they want to sell or they want to put a manager in place in their business, they've got a plan for it. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. 9 times out of 10, you can sell a business within an industry because you've got a customer base there. If you've been going for 20 years, you've got some loyal customers, and you can do a deal with somebody else that's already in the industry. But
And
you
some
have
people
to
don't
plan
think
it
about
and
that
prepare
because
for
they're
it
tired
everything.
and jaded, so they don't think about it. And that's where you would come in and
You're
sort
right.
of support them.
It's one of those situations that you want to sell your house, you'll cut the grass and you'll cut the hedges and you might decorate throughout the house. And if we do the same thing with a business, then you've got a better chance of it being appealing to somebody. And that's another great way.
Because that's probably a massive problem, isn't it? It's a massive challenge to be able to sell something like that.
Well, I think one of the big issues that we're seeing at the moment is that people don't actually have one career for life anymore. When you started out, I wanted to be an electrician, I wanted to be a plumber. Over the years, your job aspirations will change. There are jobs now that never
Didn't
existed
exist
20 years ago. And if you go back 20 years, you could have had family that were working in a coal mine. Now they work in digital marketing or they work in e-commerce or something like that. And
Social media, that's what I see all the time at the moment.
Yeah.
Social media manager.
I wonder what the next thing is. What do you think the next thing is?
I think the Metaverse is a very interesting concept at the moment, and having been in business longer than I worked in marketing, well, marketing and business go hand in hand, but one thing that you'll learn over the years is that marketers are fantastic at creating another market for themselves. So when we
That's really good. That's so obvious, and yet completely never even think about it.
when I started out with computer studies back in the 90s, we were building websites, and we were all talking about search engine optimization and Google AdWords and things like this as they were starting out. Then social media came into fashion, as you were saying, and then we moved back, back through the cycle. Just like fashion changes, we see the same things in marketing go. So where everything was about SEO and social media, you'll find at the moment that if you're doing direct mail campaigns, whilst they're more expensive now, they're a lot more effective because most people don't get anything through the post apart from the Amazon delivery. So people have reconnected receiving something in the post in their mind with a pleasurable event. You're looking forward to the postman coming because you've got your gadgets that you've ordered off Amazon being delivered today.
How does he know?
He's looking at you like that, Jack.
Do you know, Jack, I've got an Amazon dude that delivers to us every single day. I'm sure that if we went on holiday for a week, that he would still come to the house because we're probably still on his route every day, whether we've ordered or not. But it's the way that we live now. I can't believe that I can get my food shopping delivered by Morrison's within 2 hours via Amazon.
I know.
That's the thing. We start moaning. It's like, oh my God, I've got to wait 2 days for my parcel.
My son ordered some, some pizzas, frozen food pizzas. Where'd you get them from? Amazon. Amazon sells frozen food.
I know. See, that's a bit crazy and not really completely right, I don't think. Well,
See, this is you being old school.
I'm a little bit of a Luddite. Yeah, exactly.
It's the way of the world now, isn't it?
But then that doesn't necessarily mean it's right.
But I'm interested to know what the next stage is.
What the next thing is. You said the Metaverse.
You order something on Amazon and it will be with you within 30 minutes.
It'll be with you. It'll be able to read your mind and get it before you even know you want it.
Elon Musk is working on that one where it actually integrates chips into your brain so you can actually think that on the computer. No. So he started a company up for doing that, for that purpose.
Are you serious?
Yes, it would just be constant Just Eat deliveries to my office. Like every 5 minutes. You were thinking about tacos, so we've delivered.
That's awful. I better not think about it. I want it to come.
I know they have fridges, like intelligent fridges, that they order the stuff and then the food arrives.
Now this is something that if you'd gone back 2 or 3, 5 years ago, that Tesco's and other chains really dropped the ball on. If I opened the fridge like I did at lunchtime, get some cheese out, get some bread out, and all I had to do was zap that barcode past the front of the fridge for it to reorder it, the brand loyalty to that shop would be so great that you'd never shop anywhere else.
That's true.
They could save all this money on marketing just by giving everybody a free fridge.
Yeah, but look at that shop.
£200 fridge.
Gap in the market, James.
You're right.
Yeah, but look at that shop now, where you can literally go into the shop. Is it an Amazon shop? I'm not sure. Yeah. And literally, you don't have to have your cash with you or whatever. It just sees your eyes, isn't it?
They open the shop, isn't it?
Yes. Honestly, I'm telling the truth.
The danger in that.
Yeah.
So eye tracking in shops has been used for decades by marketers so the shelf that you buy your chocolate bar off at eye level is charged a premium to the brand. That's been common practice for 10 or 15 years.
If it's this level.
But if they can track everything that your eye is doing, that's when you start to get into the mind reading techniques that you're talking about, Jack, because it's just that they know what you're thinking. And one of the things I studied years ago was neuro-linguistic programming.
Love that.
And very, very clever in how you use the eye movements to read whether people are using the creative part of their brain, whether they're lying to you, whether they're thinking things up. Very, very interesting. But if you put that into a wider context, it becomes a very powerful tool for some rich, evil men sat behind their desks.
And they do, those rich.
Netflix did a couple of series on that kind of thing where a guy could actually tell what's going on with your face features. You didn't have to say nothing. You could tell.
It was the NLP, though. That probably is exactly that.
So going back to the metaverse that you were talking about, we're in this position now. There's kind of an online land grab, so you can physically buy the piece of virtual land that you're sat in at the moment. You can do that on an app on your phone. You can do like prospecting for gold, but in the metaverse, which is very, very bizarre. So if you, for a few pounds, you could buy the piece of land that we're sat on here today, hoping that Surrey Heath Borough Council want to buy it off you in the future.
In 20 years' time.
People have spent thousands on a house in the metaverse already. Proper £1,000.
I'm getting my heart racing. It worries me.
But the interesting side.
I've already bought your house, Beverly.
I bought a piece of land I got given a piece of land in Scotland, and now I'm officially a lady. It's the same thing, isn't it?
I'm a lady.
I'm a lady. I'm a lady.
Yeah, it's incredible how technology and all that kind of stuff. And I suppose you've had to develop that for your business as well.
We have, and it's also looking for opportunities. I mean, one of the things I've been researching recently with the Metaverse, it may never come back down to small local businesses, but firms like BMW are building a virtual replica of their factory in the Metaverse that they can then have people working in virtual reality headsets doing the tasks that they would do in the real factory, and then they can analyse how to improve the efficiency of the factory without building a new one, without spending thousands of pounds reorganising the factory. But you can do it all virtually. And then you sit there and think to yourself, well, there's some serious money being thrown at this.
So there must be some merit in it.
At some point, there will become a tipping point. But there's fun things as well. I mean, Nick, you've probably seen the Jack. Sorry, you've probably seen the Google glasses that you can wear, that you get an overlay.
What about the Microsoft one where you can actually put it's augmented reality, so when people are building characters for a game, they got the glasses on, it looks actually on their desk, so they can get the size right and the angles and all that kind of stuff as well with it.
Well, for what reason?
Well, when a game is creating a character, if you got it on the screen, it's going to be kind of small, but they want to see it kind of real size. So using these special glasses, they can actually see it actually next to them if it's actually in their office, and see the size. They can turn it around, have a proper look at it. So
let's just get back then. So you support businesses. So how would you be able to support a business if they get involved with the whole metaverse part, do you think?
At the moment, I think with the Metaverse, it's a case of all of us spending some time to understand it and to look for the opportunities. One of the tools that we use in any kind of marketing or business planning is called a SWOT analysis. You've probably heard that before: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. There's a slightly wider version of that we use in marketing as well, which is called PESTLE, which looks at other things, including kind of economic changes and social changes. And I think for a lot of business owners, it's understanding that there's potentially an opportunity there, and how could we make use of it in the future. I mean, thinking about us four sat around a table today, the real disconnect for many businesses in a Zoom meeting is you get bored very, very quickly. So, for example, if you were sat in a Zoom presentation with holographic representations of everybody around that table, you're very much back in the room, although you might be physically located in different places. But that kind of technology and embracing that within your business might work really, really well for you. The other thing that we've started to see is massive exhibitions held online, where you've got trade stands that are provided, and breakout rooms and things like that. These are kind of steps along the way to the kind of greater goal of...
But do you think we're not losing something like that? Because one, you haven't got people renting the space in the exhibition centres. Two, you haven't got the people with food trucks selling, whatever they are, the real life stuff that the little people... The bit
I miss is, like you're saying, if you do it on virtual and it's like, so let's say for instance it's realistic, it's like actually being there kind of thing. That's kind of where it's going towards. I would miss the atmosphere, the feeling of being in that room.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you can't do it on virtual.
But you can't do everything you want to do in life. No. If you've ever seen Tony Robbins do these massive conventions with hundreds of thousands of people doing a fire walk and things like that, during lockdown he ran a number of events where you were literally online on Zoom with hundreds of thousands of people from around the world that you never would have been able to connect with, either because you couldn't afford to, because it's about £5,000 or £6,000 a ticket, or you just don't like flying, or you haven't got the time to be off work.
There are benefits for it.
There are massive
benefits.
benefits.
It's kind of balance, isn't it? You've got benefits and you've got the reasons why not to, like collaborating with more people around the world, so it's not just in your area. People that don't like, I suppose, like crowds of spaces, it'd be perfect for them. Because it can be in the metaverse, but not feel like they're crowded.
And I think when it comes to a business, you've got to seek that balance. Just before the show started, we were talking about local businesses, and we've just been talking about Amazon, for example. There's an awful lot of opportunities that people have got to be able to bring people into their store and give them a very different experience if they think about it and if they're bold. We look at Apple stores, for example. They don't really sell to you in an Apple store. The Apple store is really there for customer service, to teach you how to use an Apple product. John Lewis are very good at their customer service, and we've kind of... Most people are looking on Amazon or Google to see where they're buying something from, but if they can get the customer service right, so they educate you in store, then most people would rather have their 80-inch television delivered and set up for them than try and get it in the back of their mini metro. you know. And so I think we've got to actually, as business owners, adapt to what people want. So, for example, as much as you love those food trucks at the exhibition and things like that, if you're hosting a virtual conference, find a way of sending a care package to all the attendees so they get a little bit of that
so
world.
You'll get it in their
in their living room.
That's good, and that's where you would come in.
And that's one of those small things that you can just differentiate yourself and your event. But as for me, I love face-to-face events and conferences. And I was back last week. I did 2 different events in the NEC and Excel in London, and it was lovely to see people back face-to-face and shake their hands and, you know, see life again.
And look in the eyes.
So how far do you think we're off from this? Realistically,
Well, like the metaverse kind of thing. That's happening now.
It's happening now, and people are investing in it. For us as a lay people, there's kind of a technology rule about doubling and time spaces. So, you know, I think in 5 years' time we'll have a very different offering to what we see now, and that will be massively, massively different to the framework that we're seeing. The thing is, if the guys that are selling you everything, you know, some statistics I saw a few days ago. Of 5 minutes you spend on your phone, over 1.5 minutes of that is spent on a Facebook-owned or Meta-owned product. So if somebody has got 25% of your attention and they're putting billions of pounds into a product, something will come from it that will make them money. And that's the cold hard facts, whether we like it or not. You know,
That's the way of the world.
It is. You know, when Apple's got more money than some countries in the world, sat in reserves, and most of their products are made of precious metals.
That's the way of the world.
It is the way of the world.
There is some statistics on the guy who runs Apple, what he actually gets paid minimum, not for his bonuses, for minimum, and it's phenomenal. It's like, I think it's in the billion as his basic wage.
Really?
Yeah, and then he gets a huge payout from Apple for all the sales that go through all the store. I mean, you talk about Apple Store selling constantly. It's I think the last time I looked at it a few years ago, it was like over £1 million per day, or it might be £1 million per hour goes through the Apple Store. That's the apps, that's the gaming, and that's buying stuff. It's phenomenal how much money he made. They're really, really big income. And he's sat on a really huge income.
It's kind of like a drip feed thing, isn't it? It just becomes though it's indispensable to us.
I mean, in business, we've seen 2 different sides of the coin in the last 20 years. You've seen the Apples that have kind of grown so much in the way of reserves that literally they could stop taking your money tomorrow and they'll still function for another 10, 20, 30 years. And then we've seen the other businesses like Woolworths, that Woolworths built their business on the back of get one productive store, then let's invest the money in a second store and grow it organically like you or I would grow our business. And the downfall of the high street very much started as soon as venture capitalists got involved. So it's like, do you know what, we own 20 stores, let's sell those stores and rent them back, and with that money we'll fund a faster growth program. And that's what people like Jamie Oliver did. 20, 50, 60, 100 restaurants in a year, fantastic. But as soon as the footfall stops, you're on borrowed money.
Bubbles burst.
And that's one of the big problems that we've had in the high street. It's not so much about the reduction in footfall, it's about the fact you've sold your soul to the devil.
Or is it being too greedy?
It is. It is capitalism and greed. If you want a really interesting documentary to go back and look at, there's one on BBC iPlayer about the Cold War. And it talks about how Margaret Thatcher opened Brent Cross Shopping Centre at the time where Russians were queuing 50 to 100 strong for a loaf of bread. And Margaret Thatcher opened Brent Cross Shopping Centre, the first shopping centre in our country. There was De Beers diamonds and Prada handbags and all these other beautiful, expensive things. And it was literally a political statement of this is the difference between socialism and capitalism. And when you take that back from the 70s to now, we've grown up in that consumer society, which was basically a way of putting 2 fingers up to the Russians and the things that were happening there. And it's very interesting to see how we've kind of put the communities to one side and we've put everything to one side to be on that treadmill of making money. I'm a bit of a social entrepreneur as well, so I kind of want to see all of the businesses that we work with and encourage to have an active role in their community and give something back. Because I have to
say exactly that. I think it's great to have that kind of mindset where you are a business owner, you run a business, but you've also got a social conscience. Yeah. And that's a great way to have, if you've got money to do something useful in the community with it,
Well, we think of Henry Ford. We think of all the oil and iron magnates of the past centuries, and most of them had their name above a school. Most of them had their name above a hospital wing, and that kind of philanthropy now. Whilst we can get into the whole Coulson conversation, you're in that position that a lot of good was done out of their wealth at educating people and giving back. And
I wonder if so much is done now.
I don't think so.
We don't know, do we, really? Because maybe the people who do the good don't say anything.
Well, if you take Boris's 40 hospitals, how many of those will actually turn out to be real hospitals? How many of those would have hospital wings that have been, dedicated by a musician or a politician or someone that's actually put their hand in their pocket? We're in a social media age where you would see it within minutes on Instagram of, David Cameron this week's driven a truck out to Poland. And there's been hundreds and hundreds of photos of David Cameron driving this truck out to Poland with goods from a soup kitchen in Oxfordshire. You become a bit speechless with it, but that's the way that. So, if that kind of level of philanthropy was going on, I'm sure we would hear about it.
We'd hear about it. You're right.
I'll put my political soapbox away
and step off of it.
Well, we could talk more, I think, but
yeah, I think there's a whole load of stuff to talk about. It's a really, really interesting subject, isn't it? But basically, your job is to support people and think outside the box to help them grow and be consistently solid.
Literally, we talk about the metaverse, and so many things are changing in marketing all the time around us. And as a small business owner, it's very difficult to be on top of that. So I'm a cross between a business coach and an outsourced marketing manager that can kind of come in and give people the inspiration and direction they need so that they're spending their money effectively.
That's good. And you come from a background where you've run businesses.
Yep.
So
22 years of ups and downs and troubles in between.
Yeah, real life
character
stuff.
building stuff.
Character building, yeah.
makes you a better person.
It does.
But that's great. So you haven't just gone to university, learned how to. I don't mean that disrespectfully, but you've lived the life.
I've done the
falls.
university stuff as well to kind of put some professional credentials behind the name, but it's as a bit of a box ticking exercise. But it's interesting. University gives you a very different point of view, and one of the things with university is nothing is beyond your wildest dreams when you're in university. Whereas in real life, we start to do things that limit ourselves. If you've had a rough few years in business, you start to believe that you can't do anything differently. Whereas when you're in university, the world's your oyster.
Yeah.
And one of the most important things with university generally is the networks that they build while they're there. That's where they can get their funding or meet university professors and bits like that. So working on our network outside of university is really important as well.
So that's fantastic advice.
So if we want to find out more information about you...
Yep, social media, you'll find me at Help Me Grow or on our website, which is www.helpmegrow.co.uk.
Fabulous. Jamie, thank you.
Real pleasure, guys. Thank you.